Hey everyone, tea time, iced tea time with Jen. I'm having green tea mint, if anyone wants to join. I've been, what's the word I'm looking for? I've been hinting about a tea time about my feelings on this next scan, and I've been kind of putting it off, probably partly because I don't want to deal with my feelings about this next scan, but since it's tomorrow, I guess I gotta deal with it. So let's talk about tea time with Jen, Scanxiety, and just my feelings about the scan. So I think I've already mentioned, but I'll mention again. Tomorrow morning, I'm going to have a PET scan, and it is my first PET scan for, what month are we in? July? 14 months, almost 15 months. And the reason that I stopped getting PETs, I was getting PET scans every 6 months because I had lymphoma during the pandemic. So I guess 2-3 years ago. And for my oncologist, his protocol is to do PET scans every 6 months just to make sure there's nothing going on, that everything's quiet. And we didn't find any lymphoma, but we did find breast cancer, as you all know. And today I think is day 342-ish, I think I'm about right, of my breast cancer journey. And so my last PET scan discovered my breast cancer. And that is a blessing and a curse in my mind. So, of course, absolutely a blessing to know and be able to deal with it and be treated and hopefully be healthy and breast cancer free. Also, a fair amount of anxiety about what are we going to find when we look again? What's under the hood? And then I guess added to that is just lately, maybe in the last month and a half, I've just felt more sluggish. And you probably can see in my dailies, I'm not getting as many steps. I'm not moving as much as I want to be moving. In my head, I want to be moving, but my body's just not moving. And so that worries me because the last time I felt like this, I had lymphoma. And it was during the pandemic, and I was like, oh, I'm just a little blue. I'm not out and about. And that's just, I rationalized to myself why I couldn't move my body. And I didn't realize that, of course. But now I'm seeing that symptom. I did report it to my oncologist, and they're like, we understand, having 4 times cancer, the first thing you think is that, but there's no reason for us to think that. Your blood work looks good and blah, blah, blah. And so there is nothing on the outside that says there's anything to be worried about. And yet I worry. On the flip side, it's important to me, as I've shared many times, to spend my time living. And so if I get mired down in the worry, then I'm going to miss living. And so it's a fine balance. And so I think I'm what I would consider this. It's not a pity party. Maybe I need a new name. If anybody has any ideas, put them down in the comments. What is this that I'm giving myself permission to kind of sulk and worry and be about it until the scan. That's my plan. So yesterday I already mentioned I was kind of brooding yesterday, and today is not much far behind. But tomorrow morning I'll be up bright and early and go for my scan, and then it's done. There's nothing I can do. And even right now, there's nothing I can do, honestly. So I'm just going to leave that alone. I did let them know that I am seeing my medical oncologist on Tuesday, so there's an outside chance that they'll read it really quickly and get the results to him before I see him. I'm not expecting that. I expect that I'll see the results by the end of the week. So am I anxious about the test itself? No. Zero anxiety about the test itself. And if you guys are interested, I could do a cancer tips, like kind of a layman's explanation of the PET scan. I can give you 10,000 foot right now. I go in, they insert basically an IV, which is kind of commonplace, right? They asked me when the last time I ate was, at least 6 to 8 hours before, right? Tomorrow will be probably more like 12, maybe more. But that's the requirement, six hours. And then they inject me with a radioactive glucose, which sounds much worse than it is. It's a quick injection through that IV. Then they pull the IV out, and that's the end. I have a Band-Aid. No big deal. That part is easy peasy lemon squeezy. And the next part isn't too bad either. So they have me sit in a recliner, do not move for 1 hour. So the goal here is that the glucose will go to any areas in your body that are metabolically active. So if there is cancer someplace, it will light up with this radioactive dye. And then I go in for the PET scan after an hour. And the PET scan is usually it's a PET CT scan. It's a big round machine. I could insert a picture here, an old picture. I think I have one somewhere. And I might try and grab some pictures tomorrow to kind of give you a walkthrough on this. And you go in, it's a CT. So they're, in addition to looking at that radioactive dye, often they also do CT, which will let them see the soft tissues as well and give them some pictures of things even if they don't light up. So they can kind of have a sense of where things are and size and so forth. And that's part of the reason they were able to identify my breast cancer so early, was because on my 6-month prior PET scan, PET CT, they saw a little blip on the breast that was like 3 millimeters, 2 or 3 millimeters. And when I went for the 6 months later, it was doubled in size and now it lit up. So I guess another thing to know is that the PET scan, that the glucose and the lighting up function really won't work on anything less than 5, 6, 7 millimeters, which is pretty tiny. But I did find out when we took out this breast that I had lots of little teeny tiny 1 and 2 millimeter blobs of metastatic activity. And so that wasn't visible on the PET scan. It was only visible when they cut it up and then they did the biopsy. So in any case, the test itself is not really anxiety producing. A little bit of claustrophobia, but not crazy. It is a tube, but it's open on both ends. And for about a half an hour, you're going back and forth in and out of it. I generally close my eyes. It is kind of loud. And I just kind of try and chill as best I can. One tip, don't like move your tongue around. Like I did that one time. I was kind of anxious and they tell you not to move. So I was just moving my tongue like inside my mouth, not moving my body. But then my tongue lit up because I was actively moving it. And they're like, yeah, we see that sometimes when people are moving. So there was no anxiety or thought that that was cancer, but I'll just mention that to you. And so, 10,000 feet, the most metabolically active organ in your body is your liver. And when they do something called an uptake, which is how much the body takes that glucose. And so the uptake value is measured at your liver. So I think the number is usually 2.5-ish, 2.5. I might be wrong, but I think I'm right. And that number is what they use as the baseline. So if there's anything in your body that's higher than that, that becomes suspect for metastatic activity. And anything that's even equal to that, usually the liver is much more metabolically active than most other organs and parts of your body. So that's kind of what they're looking for. And they're also looking for activity that's in a place that shouldn't be. Like, having a 5 millimeter blip on your right breast when you don't have any breasts and it's implants, that's suspicious, right? There's no reason to have activity there, except nefarious reasons. So how I'm feeling is just anxious about what we're going to find under the hood. A couple months ago, if you'd asked me, I was feeling awesome. But this whole energy thing now, I was talking to somebody the other day about my energy, and they're like, well, it's summertime, it's super hot and humid, everybody's energy is kind of dragging. And that certainly could be the case. Maybe that's my problem. I am certainly hopeful that's my problem. Because I'm feeling like we're at the end. I think I already mentioned this, but tomorrow's Monday. Monday is this PET scan. Tuesday is my last Herceptin and Perjeta treatment for this breast cancer. So I am done with this treatment if the PET scan doesn't show anything. And if it does, I'm still done with Herceptin and Perjeta. Then we're going to have to go to next tier treatment and figure out the next steps, right? Then Herceptin and Perjeta is done no matter what. But maybe I'm done with this treatment altogether, and that's pretty joyous. It's kind of the finish line I've been waiting for. This has been a long one when you look at everything together. As I mentioned, it's almost a full year of treatment between chemo, antibodies, radiation, and so forth. So I'm happy to be done. I'd certainly feel much better right now than I did when I was actively getting chemo or radiation, but still dragging a bit and quite anxious about the results of this PET scan. But as I mentioned, if you guys can come up with, I don't think this is a pity party. I'm not having a pity party, but I am definitely having I need to wallow in my anxiety, my scanxiety. So anybody have any clever names for this? I really need to come up with something. So I'm gonna do that for the rest of today. Worry about what may happen, and then I'm gonna let that go and focus on living, because that's what I got to do. I need to enjoy it. And I saw something recently that I thought was pretty profound about losing the battle to cancer. And the answer was, I didn't lose my battle with cancer if I lived every day the way I wanted to live it. I didn't let cancer change me or change my zest for life and living. And so I guess maybe that will help me. Maybe I need to put that brain on. So yeah, I knew this was going to help somehow. So if I just focus on the living and doing the things that bring me joy, then it doesn't matter what the PET scan results are. We'll just deal with them and move on. And if it means more treatment, then there's more treatment, and I just got to deal with it. Which I will. I always do, because the important thing is living. But whew, I hope it's clean and clear, and I got nothing to do. And this time next week, it's a party. A party. Fingers crossed. All right, so that's what I'm thinking. Anybody have any thoughts? I know many of you have been through the PET scan, CT, ultrasound game, the scans to see what's going on under the hood. How do you deal with your Scanxiety before you go? Are you anxious for the whole time after the test? I don't know why. It makes no sense to me, but once I get the test, then my anxiety's done, and I'm kind of like, well, whatever it is, it is. I do have some anxiety waiting for the results. Like, why don't we have them yet? Why don't we have them yet? And then I go, well, if it was really bad, we'd have the results already. Which is kind of silly. But the CT scan that found my lymphoma, I wasn't even home from the radiology place, and my doctor's office was calling. Like, they were that upset about those results. The radiology called the doctor, and the doctor called me. So from that perspective, no results might be good news, right? So waiting a few days, that's good. Sometimes not. Like, that was not the case with this breast cancer. Everyone was kind of like, oh, it's nothing. It's just a lymph node, we call an active lymph node, and I didn't think so. And then I had one radiology team that was like, I don't think so either. And, and my breast surgeon, of course, I've told the story already. I can link it here. But she was like, yeah, no, we're going to just follow this to the end and make sure. And I'm glad we did, obviously, because here we are a year later, almost cancer-free. All right. Well, that's all the thoughts I had today. If you guys have any words of wisdom, thoughts, ideas for what to call this time of worry and anxiety, I would love to hear it. If you have any clever bits, that would be great. Thanks for listening to me babble on about my Scanxiety and my worry. And if you have any questions, let me know. And if you're interested in a more extensive video about how the PET scan works, let me know. Again, I'm not a medical professional. Please talk to your medical professionals. But that's 10,000 foot how it works. All right. Thanks, everyone. Tomorrow's going to be a better day. The scan will be behind me. And be well.